It's your boy Todd, and I'm here keeping it a buck.
Welcome everybody to Keeping It a Buck. I'm your host, Honor from Laughatlifeo, L-A-L-O. You already know how I do it. And today, on today's show, I got a special guest. Man, I can't wait for you guys to hear his story, his heart. Man, this is the deacon of all deacon. This is the devil try to stop me. I'm gonna punch the devil in the face. The devil try to take me down. I'm bouncing back up, stone cold stunning him. Doesn't matter what's going on. My friend, my brother Todd Rogotzke, welcome to the show. Todd, step up to the plate. Let everybody know who you is, where you from, what set you claim, if you got any crazy TikTok dances, whatever it is, man, just the floor is yours, man.
Thank you, Oscar. I from Southbury, Connecticut, and grateful to be here. And we're just keeping it real.
That's it, man. Keeping it a buck.
Yeah, there's no TikTok. I watch TikToks, but I don't dance to TikToks.
Why
because
not?
It just no.
Not for you.
No. Yeah, no. I watch them and enjoy them, but no.
Nope. We'll get you on it one day. I promise.
Yeah, okay.
That's my goal.
Woo.
Todd, man, I just want to do a quick disclaimer, like I do in every show for you and for the viewers. Keeping it a buck. Basically, what we do, we just we lay everything out on the table. If I ask something and you don't feel like answering, all you got to say is, you know what, Oscar? Oh, listen, I don't feel like answering that, or pass to the next question. I'll respect it. But if I feel like I got to get into my TMZ bag, I'm going to get into my TMZ bag. I'm just saying, So with that said, man, Todd, man, I've known you for so many years. Well, 14 years now. I've been saved for 14 years.
Yeah.
And my first question to you is, because you have a story that we're going to get into in a little bit, right?
Okay.
You have a testimony that is so powerful, and God put it in my heart that we have to share. We have to go in full depth about it, right?
Okay.
For many different reasons. But before we get into that, let's get a little background check. How long have you been saved? Did you grow up in the church? Did you come to Christ later on in years of life? Like, how long have you been a follower of Jesus?
Okay. I'm about to blow your mind.
Okay, please do.
With what I'm about to say. I grew up in church, went to Christian school, had God shoved down my throat.
Wow. Okay.
And when I got out of school, I said, deuces, peace out. We gonna, this isn't for me. It's not what I want. About 2 years after getting out of high school.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Out of high school.
How was that experience getting God shoved down your throat? Like, what exactly do you mean by getting God shoved down your throat?
Well, when God is shoved down somebody's throat, it's more of a religion.
Okay.
An aspect of religion where God is calling us not to religion, but he's calling us to a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, when God is shoved down your throat and you have religion, you have a book of rules, of do's and don'ts. And, well, if I do it this way, then God's going to love me. If I do this, this, and this, then God's going to love me. If I don't do this, this, and this, then I'm not going to be blessed. I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be blessed. I'm going to be on God's bad side. And that's the furthest thing from the truth that I can see. And who wants that? That's just, ugh, that's disgusting. for me personally speaking, it's disgusting because at the end of the day, we're just human, and
Mhm.
God knows our frailties. He knew our frailties before we were even made. So he knew what we were going to be like, and he's like, I'm cool with it. I'm down with it, or I'm down with that person, and I'm down with what they're going to do, because there's nothing that we can do that's going to separate us from God's love. And trust me, I've been out there. I've been wait for the package that you see today didn't always exist. Even from when you first met me, the package had changed. And it's ongoing. It's changing with the level of relationship. Your level changes, your package changes, your how you are changes. I grew up in church, and I walked away. Did I do anything bad? No. But just the fact that I walked away was bad enough.
So explain that you walked away. Like what? Obviously, because the
I
reason why I'm
stopped going
at
to church.
okay, because the reason why I asked about shoving God down your throat, I've heard
Mm-hmm.
many stories of people leaving the faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all that they were forced to go to church. They were, like you said, you have to do
Drugs.
this, that,
Yeah.
which you have to do this, you have to do that, which is it's salvation by works and not by faith, right?
Right.
And I know I grew up in the Catholic Church, and as I got older and I'm getting older and I do my research more and more, I know part of me growing up in the Catholic Church, it was, well, you have to go and do confession every week in order to be forgiven by your sins.
Mm-hmm.
That these doctrines, and not just the Catholic Church, but I just had an interview I just had a brother that was a Mormon that became a Christian, and he kind of broke down how
Oh,
Mormonism
awesome.
also works like that. I know
Mm-hmm.
people that are Jehovah Witnesses that they have to do X, Y, and Z to be in God's good grace. So I kind of
Mm-hmm.
understand that point of it. But and I've seen a lot of people just talk about, well, I left the faith because it was always God, 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 God. And I think I'm starting to realize that the commonality, that the common ground is that the wrong doctrine is being taught, right? When
Yeah.
it comes to God. So a lot of people, when they leave the faith, they get crazy into heavy nonsense, right? When you
Yes.
said you left, it was not for you after high school, you walked away. What led you to that per se, to say, all right, enough is enough? And what was it that you did that made you walk away from, like, what was it that you did after walking away from
I
the faith?
just I just had enough. I just had enough of the do's and don'ts, and there were more don'ts than do's. Um.
Expound on that. What were some of the don'ts and do's?
Oh, you couldn't go to the movies. You couldn't go to. Oh yeah, yeah. I saw that. You couldn't listen to music. You had to listen to Christian music, and then there was some Christian music that you could listen to, and then there was some that you couldn't. And the ones that you couldn't were the better music. The
Of
more
course.
more hipper, more more my generation and my age at the time, and it was just that's the way it was. And you really, it just really, the bag got full, and it was just time to move on. I don't know how else to put it. It was just time. There was, like I said, there were more don'ts than do's, and you had to go to you know you had to go to Sunday school, you had to go to church every Sunday, and if you didn't, you were going to hell. God
Oh,
forbid
wow.
you. Huh?
I said, wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
That's extreme.
it was crazy, you know. And God forbid you missed a Sunday because you were sick. You know, you weren't getting a phone call saying, "Hey, how you doing? You know, is everything okay? You know, are you okay?" You know, and it was just rough. It really was, and everybody thought that that was God's intention, and that was, you know, I don't know. It just didn't. After a while, it just got to the point where, why am I doing this when, you know, if I slip up, God forbid I slip up, you know, and yeah, I know that I need to ask for forgiveness, because then I can get back on the right side of God. And you always want to be on the right side of God, which is true, but it was a thin line that you had to walk, almost like the line that I've seen walked, you know, when they're doing a sobriety check. And that's not what God's got. That's not how God is. He you know, he understands that we're going to screw up, and sometimes our screw ups are pretty good and sometimes they're not so bad, and you know, whatever. A screw up is a screw up.
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is, and I just got tired of the the confinement that I felt that I was in, you know.
Gotcha.
And it didn't help that I was in a school where there were rules and 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 rules. And it just got to be too much. And I wanted to go explore. I wanted to go, you know, I wasn't living at home at the time, and I just wanted to go explore and see how the other half of life worked. And then on top of it, I worked on Sunday. I had to work on Sunday. And that was a no-no. You don't work on Sunday. Oh my God. Working on Sunday, you
Yeah, to
know,
keep the
taking
Sabbath.
taking a shift. Yeah, taking a shift on Sunday. Yeah. And I get it now. There's well, that'll be later on in in talk, but it you know, I just needed to do what I needed to do, you know, and I was enjoying it, you know. And then the person that I was with at the time was like, "So when are you going to bother to go back to church?" I'm like, she goes, "It's been," she said to me, she said, "It's been 6 months." I looked at her and I said, "Excuse me?" I lost track of time. I lost track of, you know, just doing, I was just doing to do, you know.
Yeah.
Part of my schedule for work was to work on Sunday, you know.
I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. I've been there.
Yeah.
So what would you say what was the most drastic? All right. So before I ask that, obviously you went to a Christian church, right? It was
Hmm.
right
Yeah.
Christian elementary school or public elementary school, because school
It
Christian
was public.
high school.
It was I personally went to a public elementary, and then at the seventh grade went into the start of the church school that we had at the time,
Okay.
to the
Now
church that I was going to at the time.
now this is also, so I'm guessing everybody got forced to go to church. You, your brother, your sister.
Ish. Yeah, for the most part, until, you know, they got older and said, "Yeah, I'm
I'm
going to
not
do what I
going.
want."
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You're kind of like the rebellious stage, like
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I think we all go through that in our younger days.
Hmm.
It's just the way your lifestyle is. Like for me, I was always confined to being home taking care of my brothers. So when I had the opportunity to get a car, to say, you know what, I'm out. I mean, I was still doing stuff that I wasn't supposed to when I was taking care of my brothers. But when I had that little bit of freedom, I rebelled. I said, you know what? I'm going to go get drunk. I'm going to go get high. I'm going to go drive. I'm going to go to the club. I'm going to go wherever I want. I'm working. I pay my bills. I'm straight. Like, so I think that's just, but you would think that people have this perception that, because there's two perceptions that I've seen, because I've talked to different people. And the one perception is, well, the kids that are always in church, at church, every day, every Sunday, growing up, they rebel and they fall to the world, right? And then there's the perception of the kids that that do the same thing, right? Some of them stay, but they become too. It becomes more of an intentional thing, a legalistic thing, instead of a relational action with God.
Yes.
Growing up in that aspect and kind of just shying away of doing your own thing. What would you give people advice, like parents? You know, as a child growing up in the church, what would be the one advice you could give Christian parents to kind of prevent or guide a little bit of, to kind of guide, to prevent some of the backslid to happen?
Okay. I think that it helps to, well, I personally think that we don't raise children to be a boy or a girl. We raise children to be who we are.
Okay.
I'm raising my children to be who I am. You're raising your girls to be who you are, between you and Bethany. So they're going to see what's important to them. They're going to see what's important to you, and what's important to you. There's a thing called parental prejudice.
Okay.
And what that is I'll give you, for instance, parental prejudice. My mother was afraid of snakes. She made me afraid of snakes because she was afraid of snakes. I've never touched a snake. I've never had a snake come that close to me, but yet I was always afraid of snakes. Still am deathly afraid of snakes. And so whatever you are thinking is the right thing, your parental prejudice, if you think that church and having a relationship with God is important, that's going to automatically funnel down through you to your children. And but what the parents need to remember is not to kill the spirit of the child, in that the child is going to do what the child's going to do, because we're also man, and we have that sin nature. So they're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna do the stupidest things that they could, but just relax. What you put into them is gonna overcome them. Is gonna overcome that, because eventually God's gonna call his marker and bring that one back for his purpose. So, just like it says, train up a child in a way he should go, and when he gets old, he's not going to depart. If you put good in, good's going to be there in the recesses of their mind, and they're going to, how do I put it? They're going to eventually get to the point, or to the place where, even if they've walked away, the child's walked away, they're going to
come back.
they're going to come back because, just like just like in the Old Testament where it talked about the prodigal son, he knew that he had it better at his dad's house, at his father's house. He knew he had it better where he was. So eventually he came back to his dad. He came back to the family, and that's what is going to happen. The child is going to come back. He's got to, because everything that God does, or everything about God, has a drawing back effect.
Gotcha.
I
mean, I guess that makes sense. That makes sense because I'm glad. I like how you said that. Parental prejudice. Parental prejudice. I like how you said that. Because
we're talking about prejudice.
Oh man.
Oh, you off the hook? You on that fine line, my brother.
I'll cross it too. Trust me.
Oh, I know. It's early yet.
I'm not afraid of that line.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I started going to counseling, right? I started seeing a therapist, right? Mental health, and there's some stuff that I've been dealing with, anger issue that, me and Bethany, we've been together for 21 years, and and she's always said to me, amen, all glory to God. She's always said to me, you got anger issues, and that used to make me angry. So we started going to marriage counseling. We did a couple sessions of that, which helped our marriage a lot. And then about a year later, I got convicted heavily to go into personal therapy, personal counseling.
Okay.
And I try to look for a Christian counseling center because I wanted to keep it faith-based. I couldn't find one. Everybody was busy, every single one day, and then I called, or we're not taking new clients, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it was just like, you gotta be, like, how is this possible?
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah.
So God has a purpose for everything. So I'm actually glad that I go to the counselor that I see now. I see her once a month, right? Good. And she pointed out, she has been hitting certain spots in my life that's like made me like, that makes sense. And one thing, I remember the first session we were talking about yelling and, the anger and everything. And she broke down that me yelling at my kids, it's not my fault, because what I'm doing is I'm reverting back to what I grew up on. All my mom did was yell. All my mom did was she used to whoop our tails. I used to get butt whoopings, right?
Yeah.
I don't strike my kids, but I've threatened them. I maybe struck both of my kids maybe once or twice. Oh my God, I'm about to get the services called. Oh boy, I laid a hand on my children. Which on a sidebar, I think that's what some of these kids need nowadays. They need a good butt whooping.
Wow. Please. Oh, dear Jesus. Yes. You hit the nail on the head. And just to let you know, I've had DCF in my life, and it's not fun. And I told them straight out the block the first time. I said, look, I spank my children, and I will continue to spank my children, but I don't touch them in anything less than a loving manner.
Yeah.
And I don't touch them when I'm not in control of myself, so that I'm doing it intentionally and that I'm calm, cool, and collected. And the worker looked at me and said, well, as long as you're not using a device, a spoon or whatever, a spatula, a shoe, a slipper, a slide, you know what I'm saying? At that time, they didn't have a problem with that. They were like, please do, and as long as you're doing it in a way that you're cool and calm, and I don't do it as a threat. if I tell my children, and I have, and I calmly tell them, if you do that again, this is what's going to happen. And I've always come through on my word, so that my children know that if daddy says X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z is going to happen, not A, B, and C.
Yeah.
You know, daddy's going to come through. And for whatever it is, you know, if it's something good, if I tell them I'm going to take them to the park, we're going to the park,
No.
because you never, you know, but that's
No, of course.
there. Yeah.
That's yeah. No, and the reason, where was I going with this? No, the reason why I bring that up is because I never, like I said, I've never struck. I've maybe struck them maybe once or twice, pop them both in the mouth, once in the butt.
Yeah.
You know, but they know, like
Mm-hmm.
in the hold on one second. In the Spanish culture, it's funny because in the Spanish culture, we have this thing called a chancleta, which is the flip flop, the you know,
slide.
yeah, right. And it's funny, it's hilarious because when I get to a point with my kids, I bring out even joking around, I bring it out, I take it off my foot, and they dart. Mind you, I've never struck them, but they dart. They're like, oh no, we give up, right?
Yeah. Oh wow.
But you said parental prejudice, and that brings me back to what my therapist said. Is you know, we retract back to what we were brought up, and it's crazy because I'm trying to break that cycle. I'm trying to break the yelling part. You know, the hitting. I don't hit my kids. My mom used to.
Right.
I've been hit with shoes, with a broom, with a spoon, with a belt, with cable wires. I've been hit with fists. I've been hit with, you know, but
yeah.
I don't do that with my. So it's like it's you're breaking. It's a tough thing to break, and I'm so thankful that I go to therapy because I'm learning new methods of how to do certain things.
Awesome.
Right. So my next question to you, right, to kind of lead back into this, what was the craziest thing that you did when you left the church, when you said, I'm done, and what was it that brought you back?
The craziest thing I ever did when I got out there.
I saw that smirk too.
No, I thought we were going somewhere else. I thought we were going somewhere else. I went to the city with a bunch of friends, and we went to the Hard Rock Cafe. I don't have that kind of story. You know, that, oh, I was a drug addict. Oh, I did this. Oh, I did that. That's not my rebellion, my issues of rebellion. It was more of a quiet, quiet rebellion, where most of the time, all I ever did was I worked 7 days a week, most of the time, you know. And then, you know, that was pretty much it. I just worked 7 days a week. I was in a relationship that if I wasn't working, we were together, you know. And that was about it, you know.
So what was it that brought you back to God? That brought you back to the church?
A family, friends, I had been going through, I got to tell you this story. I had asked my mom for prayer because life was getting a little out of hand. It was just getting a little too, I was starting to feel overwhelmed. And so I had said to my mom before that, I said, please stop praying for me. And she goes, why? And I said, because whenever you start praying for me, whenever you pray for me, my life gets hell. My life becomes hell.
Wow.
You know, duh. It's just God trying to get my attention.
I still can't believe you had the guts to stand up to your mom.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Yeah. I figured, hey, I'm not living at home. What's the worst she could do? Take away my birthday? It came close. It came close a couple of times. But, and then, so this one time, right before coming back, I said to her, I said, Mom, I need you to pray for me. And all I wanted was the Jesus, just bless him and make these things go away and make his troubles go away or help his troubles to go away and la 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 la. That's all that I wanted. I wanted a very
Yep.
superficial prayer to get me to help calm the overwhelmedness that I was feeling and going through at that time, because life was not good for me at that time. In just the struggle I was going through, the struggles of life, of growing up, of learning this is how we do it, learning how to live and how to be an adult. I was learning how to adult.
Okay.
And she didn't give me that prayer. An hour later, and we were standing there. We were standing in the kitchen. I'll never forget it. We were standing in the kitchen, and she was hugging me, and she just started praying. And an hour later, I kid you not, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Honest to God, it was an hour. And the reason I knew that is because I was late for my appointment that I needed to get to. And, I was going to catch hell from the people that I had to pick up because we were running late, and there wasn't any cell phones at that time. I couldn't say, yeah, I'm running late. I'm on my way. I'm right here,
Yep.
So she prayed for me and life got worse.
Wow.
Life got worse. The press was on.
Yep.
And so another family friend's daughter was getting married, and I had been in contact with the mom, because they're family friends. I grew up, she was another mother to me, to the point where if she said yes, we could do it. If she said no, if my parents weren't around at that time, if she said yes, it was okay. And if she said no, it stood.
Gotcha.
Kind of like the neighbor lady back in the
Yep.
day. So she said to me, she goes, yeah, Jen's getting married and we'd like you to come. You've known her all your life. And I'm like, I don't want to go. I just don't want to go. I gave her every excuse in the book as to why I couldn't show up. And she looked at me and she goes, well, then just come for a free meal. Well, if it's a free meal,
why not?
I gotta do it. I gotta do it. And I don't remember. I think it was at the Fireside Inn, I think. And no, it wasn't there. It was somewhere else. But I just went, and I went in and sat down and saw some old friends that I hadn't seen in a long time, and so forth and so on. And the pastors officiating it were Dr. Tom and Reverend Kathy. Known them all my life.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, I was like 7 or 8 about 7 or 8 when I met them the first time. So I've known them for 40 some years. And Reverend Kathy decided to just sit and talk to me, or she felt drawn to talk to me. And it was almost I was so drawn to what she was saying and how she was saying it. And it was almost like she wasn't talking down to me. She was talking into me. She was talking into my spirit, man. And I don't know. I don't know how to say it. She was just talking into my spirit, man. And she just made me think about a lot of things. She gave me a lot of encouragement. And it was great. It was a great talk. It was a needed talk. And she just said, come, why don't you just come, come because you wanna. And I said, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Again, I got the reprieve for a couple of minutes to take a couple of breaths, because life was getting to the point where I didn't feel like I could breathe.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
It does.
And oh, good. I'm glad, because I'm thinking I'm all alone here.
Nah, you get to a point where everything is overwhelming. Like you're feeling suffocated. Like no matter where you go, if you turn right, you can't move. You turn left, you can't move. If you do this, it doesn't pan out. Anything that you do, it doesn't pan out. That you feel like, I've been there, where you feel like,
tight.
Yeah.
And like everybody's pressing you.
Yep.
So I said thanks and had dinner, and they spent most of the time with me. She spent most of the time talking to me, where she should have been with the couple, I guess, with the couple, but they, do whatever they want. But she spent more time with me. And so it was Mother's Day, and I didn't have any money. So I said, well, why don't I get out of work at 8 o'clock in the morning, go up to New Milford, because that's where I was living, and go to church back in Danbury, where I was, till 8 o'clock in the morning. And I did, and it was a great time. Went to church for my mom for Mother's Day. She didn't know I was coming. Shocked her to death. And they made me sit on the front row. on the front row. And it was great. And so Reverend Kathy came back to me and said, well, why don't you just come for Jesus the next time? You came for your mom this time, because I had told her why I was there, and I was just honest. I said I didn't have any money, and I figured this was the best Mother's Day present I could give. Her son being in church. So that's when she had said to me, well, why don't you just come the next time for Jesus?
Yep.
And I did, and I haven't stopped coming. I broke down, and it was just, God met me right where I was at, and took a lot of the overwhelmedness away, and everything started to work out, because I rededicated my life, and just, got
you seek the kingdom of God first, and everything else fell right after.
Yeah, and it did. Was it perfect? No.
Never
Did
is.
I have other issues? Yeah. Did I have to walk through hell? Oh yeah, because the stupid mistakes that I had made, and stupid choices that I made, and I still had to walk them out, but God was with me, and he's still walking with me, and I'm still walking with him.
It's interesting. I'm glad you told your story, right? And I've said this. I said this previously before. When people do interviews, they usually give the short story, right? I like to hear the extended story, because there's a blessing with the extended story, right? You get
Mm-hmm.
so many more pieces to the puzzle. And as I'm listening to you talk, you're saying you were in the church your whole life growing up. You backslid, but you did nothing crazy. It was just being disobedient to the rules and regulations
Mm-hmm.
that were given to you. That
Mm-hmm.
was your rebellion,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you went to a wedding for a free meal, which I love to go to weddings because I tell my wife, it's free
Mm-hmm.
food.
Mm-hmm.
But I also enjoy weddings too. But free
Yeah,
food is
yeah, yeah,
always a
yeah,
plus.
yeah, yeah. It helps. It really helps. Yeah.
And one thing that I picked up is that you said you used to work 7 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
but yet still on Mother's Day you were broke, right?
Yep.
So you went to this wedding. Reverend Kathy spoke to you. She prophesied to you.
Yeah.
You went on Mother's Day. That was the beginning because that's how God knew He was going to get you back.
Mm-hmm.
But I, as long as I known you,
Mm-hmm.
you've always had that fire and that desire for God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think that, well, I don't have this drastic story of drugs and God turned me around, and they feel inadequate or I'm not doing enough, to have God's grace or whatever that to have that zeal, right? But here you are, you have that zeal, and one of the one things that I picked up, which I love that you said, was that even after that moment, not turning back from God again, you still went through trials and you still had to walk through them. Because I'll be honest, if I could keep it a buck,
Mm-hmm.
there's the body, I said this before, the body of Christ, I said this in the other interview, the body of Christ, I'll put, let's say maybe 5%. 5% of the body of Christ, they get saved and they look down on people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm better than thou. And unfortunately, the world looks at those people and they put us all in that same box and category,
Mm-hmm.
right? When really, as Christians, like I tell everybody, as Christians, as a Christian myself, as a follower of Jesus, I'm worse than you because I'm dealing with eternal issues that I would have just brushed away with weed, alcohol, sex, pornography, whatever.
Yeah.
Now I'm dealing with those internal demons of lust, of addiction to pornography, addiction to smoking cigarettes, addiction to getting high, addiction to anger, addiction, whatever it is. It's worse because when I do something wrong, it convicts me and it's like, oh man, I feel I'm not worthy of you. I'm not worthy of Christ's love. I'm not worthy of you going to the cross for me. And that's a heavier conviction. But I'm glad that you said that. Now, so you've been with Lighthouse for all those years, right? That's Lighthouse Ministries.
Yeah.
It wasn't called Lighthouse back then, was it?
It was Danbury Lighthouse.
Danbury Lighthouse, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first showed up. I'll never forget the day when I first stepped foot in Lighthouse Ministry. There was a guest speaker that day. It was like a couple weeks right before Easter, and this is 14 years ago.
Wow.
No, 2007. And I remember he was talking about the sermon when Peter looked out and Jesus told Peter to walk on water. And I'll never forget what he said. He said that when Peter was walking, when he got distracted, that was the enemy distracted him, and he started sinking. But in the midst of him sinking, Peter called out and Christ came and saved him. That always stuck with me because at that point in my life, I felt like I was sinking, right? And that's all I needed to do. And that was the change, and that started the journey. And then a couple weeks after that, I gave my life to Christ, and things started changing. And I remember having the Bible studies on Wednesday nights. That's when Elder Ike and Elder Terry were there. That was when Dolores was there. Christine and like everybody, you know, Marcy, Deacon Marcy, and I recently went there a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, right? Me and you, we spoke. We spoke over Instagram. I'm Messenger, Facebook Messenger. You asked me how I was doing. You know, we asked each other, you know, whatever, what was going on in our lives and so on and so forth. And I said, oh, one day I'll come and visit, right? Because I left the church after a couple years. You know, I backslid and a whole bunch of stuff. And Lighthouse will always be my first church home, right? Yeah. Because Lighthouse did so much for me and my family, right? I also do think that sometimes God calls us to different places in certain situations.
For seasons,
you know, and I knew that Lighthouse for me was now that I'm more mature in faith, I realized that Lighthouse was the place for me to grow and to get to know, right? And but then I'll talk about that another day. We spoke, and I said, hey, you know, I'll stop by one of these weeks, whatever, because you said God was revealing stuff to you, whatever. Yeah. And that week, the Holy Spirit was like, yo, you have to go. Now, let me let me rewind real quick. A couple of years ago, we had the same conversation. We had a conversation on Instagram. We reached out, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And I was telling my wife, I said, yo, the Holy Spirit's telling me we got to go to Lighthouse. She was like, why? I said, I don't know, but we have to go. I said, okay. At this point, I didn't know. At this point, I was unsure if I was going to do music ever again. I was like on a sabbatical, kind of, sort of, whatever. And that day, I showed up. And the first thing that you did, you hugged me like you always do. And then you said to me, hey, I need to talk to you after service. I got something to tell you. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. And then after service, you told me about your friend that was at, I believe you said it was Capitol or something like that. Yeah, right?
Or Atlantic,
Right. So then we spoke a couple days after that, and then you said that you showed them, you know, some of my freestyles, whatever went out, and that was a confirmation that God said, "Hey, you need to write this album," which was my first ever album that I wrote. And of an era they will never know. I wrote that album in 6 months, and it was all because I wrote it and recorded it in 6 months, right? And that was all led because God led me to go to Lighthouse because of you. Fast forward a couple of years, right, to about a month and a half ago or a month ago. Yeah. Same thing situation. We spoke, and I said, hey, I'll stop by one of these days, you know, whatever went out. And that Sunday, God was just like, the Holy Spirit was like, yo, you need to go to Lighthouse. I'm like, for what? Yeah. Like, why? Just go. Okay. I walk in, I see Dave, right? I see Dave, and Dave gives me this big hug. He's like, yo, you came at the perfect time. We got a surprise. And I'm like, what is going on over here? Like, what's up? Yeah. I did not know what was going on. So I sat down, and then all of a sudden, service starts, and then I see on the board, welcome back, Deacon Todd. And I saw that, I'm like, what are they talking about? Like, and then when I look back, I see you walking with the walker. And I'm like, what? Like, huh? I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what is... And then Prophet told your story, part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you went up and told your story.
Yeah.
And as you're telling your story, the Holy Spirit's filling me up.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, God says, hey, you got to get them on your show. Because this show right here that's going on now, this is fresh. This is something new. Because in the second sabbatical, God has called me to start a Christian broadcasting network.
Okay.
Right? We have TVN, but it doesn't really have much for the culture, you know, for guys like me, the younger. So God gave me this vision, and this is where this show is the starting point to build a foundation to that.
Awesome.
That whole part's probably going to get bleeped, maybe. I don't know yet. Awesome. Haven't come out public with the network, with the TV broadcasting network. But and when I was listening to your story, God was like, you need to get them on, because this story is something that you only hear in movies. It's something that you only hear, if I could keep it a buck, you only hear in these big televangelist shows on that, for $100 you could get this anointing sock. You know, that you only hear stories like that, right? And me knowing how Lighthouse Ministry is, and for the record, if nobody knows, Lighthouse Ministry is not a big mega church. It's a very small congregated church, very intimate, small church, right? And so when I heard your story, I was like, wow, God said, people need to hear this, right? And I was talking to somebody early in the week, and they said to me, hey, I think all that supernatural thing is in the Old Testament. Wow. And when he said that, I jumped up. I said, boy, man, you have no idea how wrong you are, because this person I'm interviewing on Saturday, one of my guests on the show, his testimony will make you take your words and stuff it in your face and chew it.
That was inappropriate.
Like you gonna want to take that back, and his testimony is just gonna punch you in the face. It's like take that. Please, Todd, start from the beginning.
Okay. Of
this powerful, wonderful, amazing testimony.
Okay.
Like I for people that are watching, like, I don't think y'all going to like really pay it. Listen, at this point, please pay attention. If your kids are driving you crazy, give them Benadryl, Ambien, whatever. I'm joking. Relax.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hide them in the closet.
I can't help you out of that one.
Kick your dogs out if they're barking. Your cat, feed them. I'm not going to say that one. Your husband is talking, tell him to hush. Your wife is talking, tell her, honey, please, I need you guys to really pay attention to this story, because this is an amazing story. Todd, it's all yours.
Thanks, Oscar. So back in February, at the beginning of February, I was going to work.
Now, what do you do for work? Let's make that clear.
Okay, I work in residential health care. I've been doing that for the last 20 years of my life. Different places, different situations, different levels of residential health care. Basically, I've worked in group homes for people with disabilities. And I've worked with very low functioning people who basically everything that you and I do and take for granted for ourselves, I have to do for somebody else. Basically is what I do. And so I was working the overnight shift, and I ended up, one of the individuals came out, and he doesn't normally come out at the beginning of my shift. So I ended up taking care of him and went to the other guy and took care of him. And I ended up taking the garbage out after taking care of the two gentlemen and taking care of their need, what they needed me to do. And so I said to myself, and I don't normally talk like this, I don't need a coat. I'm just going to the garbage can. Garbage can is 20 feet away. No big deal. I don't need a coat. I'm going to go out and come right back in. And then I said to myself, I said, yeah, I don't need my phone with me. I'm going just to the garbage can. And I don't talk like this. I just go do what I got to do. Not even a thought. Well, that day it had been very warm and all of the ice melted from the snow, or from the ice that had been formed on the patio that I had to walk over. And so that night it dropped again, it got cold because it was night, and all that water refroze. So it was black ice. And I ended up slipping and falling and hit my head. I don't know if it was on the chair or if it was on the floor, on the patio itself. But what ended up happening was I ended up passing out because I hit my head, and I ended up hurting my neck. Well, in that, I said, I've got to get back to the house. I couldn't get up. Well, come to find out, I couldn't move my arms because where I hit myself, where I hit the back of my neck, was at the cervical spine area of the C4, C5 area. And that caused me to not have any function in my arms. So basically, I was paralyzed.
So
I was paralyzed.
Hold on 1 second. Just
okay.
So you hit your head, you got knocked out from the black ice. So basically a concussion, right?
Yeah. There was blood in my head. I had, because of hitting so hard, I ended up bleeding. I ended up having blood in my head, in my skull.
How important is that? See, before you continue, I'm sorry. I just want everybody that doesn't know or is uneducated, like myself, how important are those two spots on your neck, on your cervical spine?
Well, let's put it this way. I didn't know how bad was until they gave me a case manager that was a nurse. And I didn't know how bad it was either. And she said to me, Todd, you should be in a wheelchair and you would have issues breathing, because that's where your breathing and your function of your arms and the upper half of your body work from, is those two, the C4, C5.
So two spots. Wow.
So I would literally be on a ventilator, breathing from a ventilator in a tilt and space wheelchair, or I'd end up in a power chair.
Okay, so let's go back to the story, because you just gave something so huge right there. How important that is. And so let's go. So you had blood in your head.
Yeah.
You couldn't move you finally woke up from your consciousness, from being unconscious. You realize you can't move your arms. So what happened next?
But didn't know how bad I couldn't move my arms. So I tried to get up and couldn't. I tried to get up and couldn't. So then I did the military crawl to get over to the house. And one of the things that I also didn't do, because why? I'm just going 15 feet. Why would I shut the door to the house? The screen door has glass in it, and that'll keep the heat in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Oscar, I was there for 4 hours in the cold, yelling and screaming for anybody to help me, let alone a client or an
Nobody
individual.
heard you.
Nobody heard me. Nobody heard me.
And for y'all that don't understand, the cold in February in the Northeast in Connecticut, it gets cold. And this year we really had one of the worst winters
in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really bad. And I got to the point where I realized that it's not, nobody's coming. And it's not just Todd's just got to get in the house and then he's going to feel better once he warms up, because of the way things are going. And I don't know. I just prayed. I said, God. Oh, and as I hit my head before I passed out, all I could say was Jesus. All I could say was Jesus. That's all that I prayed, Jesus. That's all I could say. That's all, as I'm hitting my head and I'm feeling the pain from, hitting my head, all I could say was Jesus. And then I guess I passed out. I had to have passed out. I don't know how long I was out for, but I was out for quite a while. So then I slithered over, military style. I thought that's what I was doing, but I was using more of my neck from what they said, because of the type of injury that I had. It was more of my neck, and it just wasn't it wasn't good. That's what hurt me more. But keep this in the back of your head. The cold in February. Okay. So
hypothermia easy.
Huh?
Hypothermia easy for 4 hours.
Yeah. So I was getting to the point where I wasn't shivering.
Oh wow.
My body temperature was 94. By the time the EMTs got me, oh, excuse me, one of my clients woke up to go to the bathroom and heard me yelling and screaming. Came over to the door, and I told her, I said, you need to call 911. She looked at me and said, I don't know how.
Oh wow.
I said, go get your other housemate. And she did, and she didn't know how to dial 911. So I told him how to dial 911, and finally got the operator, finally got the dispatcher for the 911, and they finally sent EMTs over. And that's how they, so I'm on the stretcher. They're getting ready to take me, and I'm, incapacitated. And I told him, I said, look, we had conversation and I was alert and so forth and so on the whole time. And I said, I can't leave. We had called my manager. My manager was on the way. And she lived about 30 minutes away on a good day. And that was at night. So she would have been 30-ish minutes. And I told the EMTs, I said, look, we can't leave. And they're looking at me like, okay, he's hallucinating now.
Yeah.
I said, we cannot leave this house because I'm the only staff here, and I didn't want something to happen to the clients that were in the house, to the individuals that were in the house, because they can't be left alone. And they're all there for a reason. And the guy's looking at me like, what are you going to do? Because he's seeing how bad is.
Yep.
And he medically knows how bad is to a point. And I know he was looking at me like, and what are you going to do if something happens, sir? But he didn't say that. And so they asked the police officer that had escorted them to stay until the manager got there, and that was fine. And then I let them take me. So they took me to the hospital. And once I got to the hospital, I don't remember much, but I remember the doctor coming in and saying that I was going to need surgery on my neck. And I said, well, okay, do what you got to do. I 3 sheets to the wind because of the pain meds and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally operated on me and put hardware in my neck. So I've got a fusion in my neck at the C4. Well, he went a vertebrae higher and a vertebrae lower than the C4, C5.
Okay.
To stabilize and then put 2 titanium screws in. So he, doctor did a wonderful job. Loved the man to death. And I ended up going to, I don't remember much of being at the hospital in New Britain. It's a great hospital. I've seen it since, and it's a great hospital. So then I ended up going to, so then I was told that I was going to need therapy. Okay. Still didn't know how bad is, or how bad was. And turned around and was told, that you're going to need therapy. So where would you like to go? Here's your options. My first option was Gaylord Hospital, and the second option was the hospital in Hartford Hospital. And I said, well, it's a no-brainer. We're going to Gaylord. Yeah. Because professionally, I've known them for the last 20 years. I've worked with people who have come from there. Okay. And I know what their success rate is. I know how good their success rate is. And personally, I've known people, I've known somebody who was there back in the early 70s and have known their success rate. Somebody that was paralyzed, they got them to walk.
Awesome.
With canes and braces. So it was really a no-brainer for me. We're going to Gaylord.
It was history. So, it was history and comfortability.
Yeah.
At that point, you felt that you're going to be comfortable at Gaylordsville. Before we continue, there's one thing I want to ask you that came into mind, and I didn't want to interrupt you then.
Okay.
When you were crawling, when you were yelling for help, and nobody could hear you, right? I was getting the mental, as you were saying, I was getting the mental picture, the door being closed, and and all that. What was going at that moment, if you could remember, what was actually going through your head, like at that moment? What were your thoughts? What were your, were you like filled up with anxiety? Like what was it? Were you scared that was it? That was the end of the road for you? Like what was it that?
Basically, how do I put it? There was at the beginning, there was a thought, all I've got to do is get into the house and I'm going to be fine. That was the thought at the start. And then as the time went on, a couple of times I said, well, I can't, I'm not going to die. I've got too much to do. There's too many things that I need to do for God and for the kingdom. And then after I said that, and I had prayed a little bit more, I said, God, you got to help me. You got to bring somebody to me to get to 911, to get to the proper help. And after that, and to this day, I feel like I'm literally in the palm of God's hand.
Mm.
I feel safe. I feel secure. There's not anxiety. I haven't had anxiety. I haven't had I haven't had any. Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, that was a firecracker going off for an M80.
Oh,
God bless
nice.
America. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's where it's been. I've been in the palm of God's hand this whole time, and I've had to meet people, and I've had to get in cars with people to get from my house to therapy, to get from from my house to the doctors, to get blood work, to whatever, and everybody has been great, and I've not had any anxiety. I felt like I've in the palm of God's hand, and that I'm being taken care of, and that He's taking care of me, and He's taking care of me large. I'm telling you. So I got to Gaylord.
Mm-hmm.
To get back to the story, I got to Gaylord, and my doctor, come to find out, is the top doctor in the nation for spinal cord injuries.
Wow.
He's not only the top doctor in the nation, he's the head of inpatient for Gaylord, for the hospital. He also goes one day a week to Yale to talk to help them with their spinal cord injury people. He also is he also runs the rehab. No, he runs the. Oh, they do. I'm sorry. They do research and development at Gaylord also, and he's the head of that. He's got a lot of people underneath him, and to meet him, you wouldn't know he was as busy as what he is, because he takes the time to to meet you as the person,
Mm.
to treat you. I've seen him do things that other doctors, just doctors, wouldn't do. That because it's beneath them.
Shout
That
out to
there's
the
other
doc.
people.
Shout out to the doctors that actually care and take the time for the patients.
He's great. His name is Dr. David Rosenblum, and I told him before I left. I said, "Look, if you ever decide to leave, and I don't think that that's going to happen because he's been there for 25 plus years, so he's pretty set where he's at,
Yeah.
I said, if you ever decide to start your own practice, count me in, even if I don't need you, because he's that good.
Yeah.
He's just really that thoughtful, and that. And I said the same thing to his PA. His PA could be a doctor also. Very and they're just down to earth. They're just people. They're just people that just happen to be in the medical field that have their degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And they were great. And everybody that I met at Gaylord, that I had to work with, that I had to deal with, the PT, the OT, the PT lady, she was as big as a New York minute. And
Wow.
I'm bigger than $3. Okay.
Gotcha.
She looks at me, and I'm sitting in a wheelchair, and she looks at me and she goes, "Okay, we're going to go over to those parallel bars, and you're going to stand up and you're going to walk. I looked at her and said, yeah, right. Yeah, I kind of laughed like that. And she had no fear whatsoever. And she just, let's go, get up. And it was great. It was really great while I was there. And Reverend Kathy came and visited me several times. And the first time she came, she goes, Todd, we talked every day, and she was a great resource. I always enjoyed her phone call because it was always endearing and loving and, encouraging. She said to me, she goes, Todd, you need to get a word from God and for yourself while you're in this place, because she didn't want me to go the other way and become depressed, because quite frankly, I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't touch my hands. I couldn't touch. So if you can take your thumb and touch each of your fingers, that means you have fine, yeah, just like that, you have fine motor skills. I couldn't even do that. I had to be fed. I had to have a nurse or a staff come in and literally feed me if I wanted anything, or if I wanted something to drink, or if I wanted the channels to be changed, or if I had a special telephone that
So
I
you
could. Huh?
so you were basically paralyzed from the waist up.
Yeah. But in that, I wasn't paralyzed in my diaphragm that allows you to breathe, that helps you to breathe. So it was just really in my outer extremities that were paralyzed. And I couldn't walk. I also couldn't walk, but that was because of something else. I'm not sure what that was at the time. And I don't even remember where I am now. I'm sorry.
Reverend Kathy, no, that's all right. Reverend Kathy told you about getting a word from God.
Yeah. So, okay, thank you. So I said, God, you got to give me a word. You got to plant something in my heart. And don't you know, Oscar, he said, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Mm.
And I said that every morning, every afternoon, and every evening. This is the day that the Lord has made. He's made this day. We're not talking about yesterday, and we're not talking about tomorrow. We're talking about this day, this time and space, right here, right now. He's created it, and he's made it, and he wants me to rejoice and be glad in the day that he's created for me, and in that time and space that I'm at. No matter what's going on in my life, no matter what I have and what I don't have, that's what I have. That's where I'm at, that I need to just simply rejoice.
Amen. Well, you say that, and you know what comes into mind? And I've heard the story. I heard you say the same thing that day but as I'm paying it, as I'm listening to the story again, God just revealed to me a scripture as well, right? Like you said, don't worry, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but today, right?
Yeah.
What did Jesus tell his disciples in the prayer? What did Jesus tell his disciples? He said, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will bring tomorrow. I'm paraphrasing. Don't worry about tomorrow.
Right.
The birds in the skies, they don't worry about what they worry today. Tomorrow will be tomorrow. Today is today.
Right.
And I'm just paraphrasing.
Right. And that's where I've been. It's just right here, right now, wherever I'm at, I'm rejoicing in today. And it's just been awesome. I had a great attitude, and I told everybody that I worked with, the PT lady and the OT man. And I just got to give a shout out to them. It was Caitlin R and BJ. They were great. They were great. They were great from day one, from minute one, from when they said hello. They were great. And the OT guy was he just in looking at him, I saw myself that he was, if I was in OT, if I was an occupational therapist, and I saw myself watching myself as he was working with me. I saw me working with me.
Mm-hmm.
The way he operated and the way he went about his business is the way I would have. I'm sorry, the way I would have if I was doing his job. They were great. Um, so we laughed a lot, we joked a lot, but we also worked a lot. And they got me to walk. They got me to sit up, do sit to stands, and that was the hardest thing in the world, sit to stand. But it's what I needed to do. We threw balls back and forth at each other. Medicine balls, 5 and 6 pound. And
Wow. So you went from not moving your arms, touching, having fine motor skills
yeah,
to throwing a 5 to 6 pound
yeah,
medicine ball.
yeah. It was a month. It was about a month later. I was like that for about a month, and the girls, the PCTs that they had, the patient aides that they had there, would come in and and they would get reports on me, and they'd go for the weekend, have the weekend off, have a couple of days off, and then come back, and I'm able to touch my fingers. I'm able to move my arms at my will, at my thought in my head. And they're like, is this the same person? Is this Todd we're talking about? No, it's got to be another. And they said that to me. It's got to be another. It's got to be another patient. Maybe we got another patient named Todd. But it wasn't. It was me. It was God giving me the healing in my body. And Oscar, as much as I can say, I worked and I did and I, it was God and the prayers at Lighthouse and the prayers from other people that knew about this, because I haven't told everybody. I haven't come out on Facebook with any long story, and I'm not going to.
Well, no, well, now you're
Well,
done
yeah,
now.
yeah. But I'm just saying I haven't had a written statement to my friends, the people that I friend. Um, people ask me, how you doing? I'm doing great. And that's all that they're getting, because I found out what a friend really is through this situation. I thought I knew what friends were. Friends are friends, but people can be friendly and they're not your friend. I didn't know that was different. I thought that if a person was friendly, that they were your friend.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
Friends are there for you. Friends are there for you in good times and in the bad times. And this has been a bad time for, a bad-ish time. And I've had friends become family. And they friends have become family. I've got friends paying my bills, giving the money out because I can't physically or mentally. There's just issues that haven't straightened out yet, and I need help. And they're more than happy to help, with that. And I trust them explicitly with that. And they're taking care of business, and we're moving along, footloose and fancy free. Um, so it's all good, you know, and I've just gotten, I'm home now. I got to the place where they said, yeah, your next level now is to go home. And I, you know, I fought it. I kicked about it. You know, I don't want to go home. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And they're like, yeah, you're ready. There's nothing more that we can do here that you haven't done and accomplished. Like to do stairs for walking. I was walking with a walker. I was going upstairs, and they had in the gym they had like 3 or 4 stairs, and that was nothing. That got to be nothing. And then my OT guy said, "Okay, you want to be all big and bad?
You want to
As all,
flex? Flex now.
yeah, yeah, you want to flex, you know?" And he goes, "Okay, follow me." And he took me up in a stairwell of the hospital,
Oh, wow.
and we did like 12 stairs up and down. So that was 24 stairs that I had to do, and it wasn't easy, but we did it.
Wow.
And then he would take me outside on the really nice days. He would take me outside, and I would walk for like 20 minutes, which is a lot for somebody
Yeah.
who couldn't walk, you know, 2 months before. I'm now walking around, you know, out the building and around and up and over. And then the last walk that he had me on, he was like, um, we're going to walk outside. Let's go. I said, okay. And and we walked the whole outside of the hospital. I'm like, I'm dying over here. I was dying, but it was all good. You know, it was all good. It was all good. Um, and I'm just grateful for everybody that I've seen, everybody that I've had to deal with, has been top notch. And God has just shown out and shown off, um, you know, and it's just great. And I can't wait to see, you know, where what the future holds, because, you know, like I told you, you know, he's shown me some things, and what he's shown me is that I spent too much time at work, at my job, because I was running. I don't I was running from life, and work for me has always been a place of, uh, comfort. You know, being at work, I'd rather be at work than be at home. I'd rather be at work than be out in the community. I'd rather be at work, you know. And he's shown me that that's not what the future is holding. It's not all about work. You know, I've missed a lot of life, and I want to make up for it, you know, as much as I can, obviously. But, you know, I've missed a lot, and it's just, you know, it is what it is. And I'm just grateful that, you know, I've got a family that supports me, has given me support. Um, my sister and brother-in-law have been the best since I've been gone, since I've been back. Um, and some other family and other friends, and it's just been great. I can't say any more than God's shown out and shown off, you know, and it's just
Um,
awesome.
I, I was just wiping the tears out my eyes because I'm sitting there listening to you, and a couple of things that come into mind, right? Because I'll bring it back to how bad it was, because I know that you left and then you went back, right? And that's when they told you how bad it was. Like, you shouldn't be even on the Zoom right now. You shouldn't even be on this show right now. There
If I
was,
was, somebody would be holding the phone or holding the computer, I'd still be in Gaylord. I shouldn't be out of Gaylord. I was only in Gaylord for 4 months.
Wow. So there was no crazy surgery, just a surgery that you had on your neck.
Well, no, excuse me. I'm sorry. In what, I'm sorry, I forgot. Oh man, how did I forget this? So one of the days that I was walking with the OT therapist, my leg started to give out, and I had no. I'd take a step, and my knee would buckle, and my leg would give out. There was no power. There was no power in my leg, or no stability in my leg. And he's like, "What's going on with this?" And I told him, I said, "I don't know. It's just my leg's giving out." Well, come to find out, this is what God did for me, Oscar. So years before, because of being in the business that I was in, I hurt my back, and there was stenosis in my spine. And what that is the bones around your spinal cord just get bigger. So it creates a tightness in your I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
It creates a tightness in your spinal cord, and it creates pain. Well, the whole so L4 and L5, where the spine those are the places where you walk from. You pick your foot up and you put your foot down. So that's why I wasn't getting any ability to walk, because that area was damaged because of the fall. I had issues before and had injections, and like the next day I was like
Good
better.
as new. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the magic drug. The magic it was the magic potion or whatever. So I went in and had the injections, and the injections this time didn't work. So the surgeon came in and he said to me, he goes, "Todd, there's a couple of things that we can do. We can wait and see if the shots that I gave you work, or we can go in and do surgery, and we can do a discectomy and a laminectomy." And I so I said, let's go for the surgery. And he did what he did, and it's taken away a lot of the pain that I had before. And you know and it's a lot better. I still have pain, but it's different pain.
Yeah.
But God's getting me through it. It's a day by day process, and it's a day by day process, and I love it.
And that's what I was leading to. So you had the surgery on the back, you had a surgery on your neck. There was no, when I say like crazy like surgery, like
A 12-hour.
Yeah, like the healing process. Yeah, like you weren't put back together like the Bionicle Man to make you work. In a month's time, you started getting function again on your own. That it left the nurses saying, "Wait a minute, who took the Todd out and replaced him with this one?" That's all through healing and through prayer, right? Which it's a supernatural healing that we don't see. Well, not that we don't see. It doesn't get talked about a lot, right? And the body doesn't want to believe so much that it's possible because of the perversion that's happened before in the past. This is why I wanted to bring you on, because this is so. I'm listening to you, and I had to wipe the tears out of my eyes, because it's like I'm listening to you and I'm just hearing, like in my spirit, like God still heals. All we got to do is have that seed of that faith of a mustard seed in him, and he will still heal. And it wasn't like a instant gratification.
Right.
Oh, I'm gonna heal you tomorrow. No, it took time, but he started healing you, right? And I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna ask you one more question. Well, two more questions, but one more question to the story. You know what I noticed, Todd? I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm telling you what I noticed. You grew up in the church. You backslid. Beginning of your story. God called you.
Even backslid in the church while I was in the church. You know.
Well, no. But this is where I'm leaving.
Okay.
You left the church. You walked away from God. All you did was work. It was a wedding that brought Reverend Kathy to your life, which you already knew her, but she spoke to you, right? Gave you comfort, right? Back at that wedding, you went back to Lighthouse on Mother's Day, and you've been there since, right?
Yeah.
Okay. God did the same thing. This time, more intense. Right? Back then, you were very overwhelmed, and life was just, no matter where I go, God was like, yo, you need to slow it down. Come to me. You just admitted that work has always been a comfort. This is what God showed you, and God allowed this to happen to slow you down, make you realize. Again, Reverend Kathy was there with you, encouraging you, and God is using you now, because this story is so huge, so amazing. Like, you know, and I say amazing because I said it in my last episode, I'm a nobody when it comes to this YouTube thing and all. I'm this small.
Yeah.
Right. But when you're this small, for some reason, it's easier for people to believe and take to face value what God really does. Because like I said, it comes with the perversion, right?
Yeah.
With some of the perversion that has happened, that if you have that little publicity, if you have that fame, well, you know, it's paid or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I say that because as I'm listening to you say that God showed you that your work.
Yeah.
History repeats itself to get your attention.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. I see that.
History just repeated itself, but at a bigger extreme.
Yeah.
Hey, I need to slow you down. I know you can still go. I need to slow you down. Guess what? I'm going to immobilize you. I'm going to allow the immobilization to happen so you could really focus on what I'm trying to tell you, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Because at that moment, I'm not going to lie, as you were talking, I looked up what the average temperature at night in February was this year. The average temperature was between 10 degrees and 31 degrees at night in February. That's cold. You were out there for about 4 hours.
4 hours.
No frostbite, no hypothermia.
Okay, so let me jump in right here. You said it was what degrees?
Between 10 and 31.
Okay. Now, I was told that because it was that cold, that's what saved my life.
Wow.
Because of the cold, it kept the swelling down in my neck. If
how
it was July,
how the natural heals. Ooh.
If this was July or August or September, I would have been dead because there wouldn't have been any cold, and that would have killed me.
Well, I wouldn't think so, because July, September, August, people are outside. They probably would have hurt you. So no matter which way you look at it, if we look at it in that aspect,
Yeah.
God still had a plan to keep you alive.
Right. Yeah. But I'm just saying, though, because of where I was, it was at a dead end street, and
Okay.
there's just other issues, and I might not have been. They might not have come. They might have heard, but might not have come, and still would have had to wait for the client to come and get me.
What's amazing, as you said that, what's amazing is as I'm replaying everything back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys haven't caught on to it, 10 to 31 degrees average, slipped on black ice, banged your head, was unconscious, 4 hours, blood in your head, right? Blood in your head. Magic, the door closed, no phone, no jacket, door closed, nobody's able to hear you. It's at night.
Yeah.
One of the residents come out, doesn't know how to use 911. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Doesn't know how to dial 911.
Yeah.
The next resident, go get your housemate. Doesn't know how to dial 911.
Yeah.
At this moment, to still be able to guide them with some kind of patience, to instruct them, to be able to listen.
That was God.
And really instruct them how to call 911. That's not a coincidence. That's God in his finest tune, right?
Hey, Oscar, I've got a problem. Can we pick this back up in a little bit?
Well, you know what? I'll have you on the show again. We'll do it like a second part.
Yeah.
I just wanted one quick question.
Okay, yeah.
And where is your standing now? What are you able to do?
I'm able to stand. I'm able to get up out of a chair or out of bed on my own. I'm able to walk with a walker. I can walk without a walker, and it's slow and it's very methodical, and I have to think, not as much as what I had to before, but I still can do for myself that way.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, Todd, man, I appreciate you. We're going to do a second segment on this.
Oscar, if you ever listen to me, if you ever need somebody to talk to for your show, I'm with you. I got you, because this felt like 10 minutes, and not because I was talking about me. It was awesome. I didn't want to. I've got somebody coming to check my driveway. That's why I gotta go.
No, that's fine. I get it, man. We could always pick this up. I'm definitely going to have you on the show again.
And it's only an hour. It's only been an hour and a half, and it felt like 10 minutes. Seriously, I enjoy it. If you ever need somebody to talk to, or hit me up, please.
I'm going to have you on next time, because I'm trying to do a collective with a couple people, because I think people will enjoy this. But we'll definitely pick up something else, man. Go do what you got to do, brother. I appreciate you. I love you. God bless. And
I love you too.
Your story is going to bless somebody. That's for sure.
Yes, it will. I'll talk to you later.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Whoa, what an intense story, man. That was great, man. Man, to hear that story. I heard the story, and there was a couple more, but obviously we had to cut that short. There was a couple more questions I wanted to ask that I didn't get a chance to, but we will have Todd again on the show. Man, what an amazing story. I normally don't do this after the show. I normally just cut off, but his story is so amazing. I know some people don't believe in the supernatural healing. I know some of y'all don't believe, when you see it on TV with the televangelist, for $100, I'm going to give you this anointed towel, blah, 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 blah. All that other stuff,
wow,
man.
That was inappropriate.
When I first heard the story, man, it just it moved me. And God said, you got to have him on the show. You got to tell his story. So I do want to ask for you guys that at this moment, please keep my brother Todd Keep Brother Todd in prayer, Deacon Todd in prayer. Obviously, God is still healing him. He's still working. He's still getting back to normality. The fact that this happened in February, and it's been February? About 6-7 months that he's able to walk without a walker. He's able to move again, his function. The fact that he was able to have his motor, think about it. You're out in the, like, seriously think about this, guys. You're out in the cold, 10 to 31 degree average at night for about 4 hours. No coat, no cell phone. You just knocked yourself out on the glass and nobody's able to hear you. And then you have people that you take care of that don't know how to dial 911. They're incapable of doing it. So you have to instruct. That's like if you fall and you get hurt and you're with a 2-year-old kid or a 3-year-old kid or a 4-year-old child and you grab your phone and you tell them call 911, you're instructing them to do it and they don't know how to do it. And the instruction in itself, to have the patience, think about that. And then one of the most honorable things is we can't go to the hospital. I can't leave my patients alone. I can't leave these guys alone. Talk about putting people first and not yourself. Surgery that leaves you paralyzed pretty much from the waist up. You're only allowed to breathe. The man's not supposed to be breathing. He's supposed to be on a tube. And he's able to hold the phone himself. A month after, able to touch his fingers. Nurse is wondering, how is this possible? All through prayer and God's grace and God's healing and God's mercy and God's supernatural healing. So if you're going to tell me God can't heal still, I tell you a lie. Pop, take that to the face. Pop, take Todd's story to the face. Pop, shove it in your mouth. You know what I'm saying, man? It's just an amazing story. And then his legs not be able to work because he has issue in the back and he had to go back to surgery. And now he's walking in a walker. He was able to go up 12 steps up, 12 steps down, stairs. Standing himself up. He's at home now. Man, God is so amazing. God is so amazing. Man, I just keep my brother in prayer, man. Listen, I normally don't do this. Please subscribe to the channel. I'm definitely gonna have Todd back in the future to tell more about his story, to get a progress update and check up on how he's doing in this journey, in this process. And yeah, man. So again, man, I thank y'all for tuning in this episode of Keeping It a Buck with your boy Honor, man.
Thanks for watching Keeping It a Buck on the Laughatlifeo network. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button. Because remember, every other Friday, we drop a new episode. And you don't want to miss our next episode. Man, you don't want to miss it. But while you at it, make sure you go to eyesonyouthclothing.com. So that way you can get your Laughatlifeo gear. Because, you got to stay Laughatlifeo, get up. See what I did there? Anyways, man, thank you for watching, man. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace.